Miguel, bom dia.
Bom dia, dobry den.
Добрый день.
Welcome to Porto.
Thank you, Miguel. Thanks for invitation. Thanks for your cooperation. Thanks for your help, support to Ukraine. And we are standing in the symbolic place. I know that the Portuguese famous public figure and the guy who's supporting Ukraine wrote. I mean, he
Painted
painted
this mural in Matosinhos. We are actually
Matosinhos.
not in Porto. We are on the city on side of Porto. It's called
Yeah.
Matosinhos on the seaside. And Mr. Deo, he's a very well-known plastic artist, Portuguese artist. He has done a lot of murals across the country and also abroad. Dedicated this mural to Ukraine. And it's, of course, a center of visit for many people coming here to take pictures and to create awareness also of what is going on in Ukraine.
That's actually the start. You do it. You made the introduction better than me. I just want to let you speak more because our audience, Ukrainians who will see this video, I think they have several questions which I can retranslate you. The first question concerned the phenomenon of the help of Portuguese people, of Portugal as a country to Ukrainians. Why Portugal is one of the most pro-Ukrainian European countries, I mean in European Union. So what is the phenomenon of such kind of thing?
Well, first of all, we have to start with the war itself in Ukraine. And probably it's one of the conflicts worldwide that gathers a big number, or maybe positively, the majority of interests in helping a country. Many countries that are in conflict, there is interests of financial or geostrategical or religious matter, and or just humanitarian matter. And we see that unfortunately across the world. But Ukraine gathered all the points together. So we have different perspectives from every country on the planet. For us as Portuguese, it's not the main issue, the geostrategical or religious or whatever, because we have our own history. Probably the oldest border and identification as a national country and population. We have our culture. So we recognize the huge attack that this means for a country, any country. And Ukraine is near. It's actually the furthest away from us in Europe. So with all this movement of helping, we created the biggest bridge in Europe from one point to the other. But the most important aspect for Portuguese population in general is not military, it's not geostrategical, it's not religious, it's the humanitarian part. And when we saw on the invasion, the second attack of Russia towards Ukraine, we saw on the news, of course, the crossing of refugees in Poland, for example. And people saw it for the first time with more attention on TV and understood that people crossing the border looked just like us. They dressed the same, they had the same looks. And then we got the information that you have a culture that is very similar to our culture. The traditions is something, and values of the society. We give a lot of importance to that. So this created naturally a solidarity movement in Portugal, which at the beginning was undescribable. We saw journalists on TV crying when they gave the news, wiping tears off their faces, because it was really touching, and it was no theater. It was reality.
Natural.
Reality just around the corner. So we have this special feeling, ethic of moral duty,
Attitude
to help.
Yeah.
Because Portugal is not a rich country.
Yeah.
And we have our own difficulties. So we know when help is needed, that it is very well appreciated when somebody helps. So I think this was the main first issue for helping Ukraine.
You explained very, very good and very sincere the phenomenon of help of your country, of your society for Ukraine. Portugal is far geographically, but close in the human attitude to what happening.
And values.
And
Yes.
values, yes. Actually, as you said, you before the interview you visited my country, you visited Ukraine. I invited you to Uzhgorod. We met several times in Ukraine. My second question concerns your personal perception of the future of Ukraine, of the current situation, because you know a lot of people, even here in Portugal, in Ukraine, in Europe, they say, "Oh, the Europe is tight. Some countries will not continue to help Ukraine, so you should find some kind of consensus." But you know that our president, our society is very principled, is very stubborn to beat Russians, to defend their territory, to restore territorial integrity. So you know it. What is your perception of the Ukraine, of the society, of the people, of the soldiers whom you communicate?
So, well, first of all, it's very human and natural for people not wanting to get involved in anything. This is natural. It's a protection, actually. You look at the differences. When we see conflicts across the world, in Africa, we look for differences. It's the color of the skin, it's the religion, it's the traditions, if they live in huts or we in buildings. So this is a natural protection, which is morally not correct, but it happens and it's human. And the same thing I saw in Ukraine. I see people from Ukraine leaving Ukraine and not staying to fight. It's their right, nothing against that. And I see a lot of solidarity, a different solidarity, just speaking about Ukrainians, not foreign help, Ukrainians, in the diasporas, for example. You notice a big difference if we have 50,000 refugees in Portugal, only a fraction of those are actively helping. A fraction of those are politically trying to gain some weight and advantage, even putting in risk the humanitarian aid and influencing who is not from there. So my first perception arriving in Ukraine, it was 5 minutes. I fell in love with the country, with the people, with the determination, with the courage, and especially with all the values a country with so many different ethnicities and minorities that are now joined together in fighting for your own survival. Putting these differences aside, you are Ukrainians. And that identity, for me personally, is an example I want to take part of and give as example to my daughter, for example. Because I think that everything you do in life, you leave a legacy. And this is what Ukrainians are doing, leaving a legacy to all over the world, to every country, to every population, and for your own people too. So this was the first spontaneous feeling I got. I fell in love with Ukraine. I fell in love with everything you are fighting for. And I understand the pride, but not stupid pride, the real value pride that people tell me in Ukraine, from military to victims of war to everybody I met. You have all the same target. You want to protect yourselves and guarantee that your country, your culture will not be eliminated. So that's the main issue, I think, that touched also the majority of people to help, to try to help. And this is something that has also to come in the news. Our propaganda, let's say, from one side and the other. Let's be honest, there's propaganda from every side, even from those who are helping. This propaganda has to be also dismantled from only the military part, only Mr. Zelensky asking for weapons because he does a wonderful job, otherwise Ukraine would not exist today. I believe that. He does his job perfectly. Other people should do it too. And this is a recommendation. The humanitarian part. I mean, Ukraine was not a poor country with people starving to death. So the humanitarian aid was different than when we send it to Africa, for example. So this is very important to let people know and understand what's at stake.
I have one additional question, and then I will ask you my last question. Additional question concerning your personal humanitarian steps which you made. I know that you organized the dinner in Porto, in a very famous location, to collect the support for Ukraine. I know you personally brought humanitarian aid to different cities of Ukraine. So what actually you did as a person, as a humanitarian activist for Ukrainian humanitarian activist?
Well, it was, like I said, at the beginning of this second invasion. Since the first invasion, I was already into what was happening in Crimea, and we understood outside of Ukraine the information that it was more or less under control. There was war, but it was very controllable, so there was no humanitarian drama or catastrophe where I could do something about it. So this second invasion was the turning point to say either we help or we don't. It was very spontaneous because everybody joined. All my friends, we created WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups, and let's do something because we are able to do something. And so it started. It was very spontaneous. It's not one person. It was a group of people, a group of civilian society people, without any protagonism, without any
mercantile interest.
Nothing, no interest at all. Just pure out of the
Compassion.
human compassion. And let's help you. You are asking for help. Okay, we can help. Let's help you. This was the spontaneous action that took. It's like a rolling ball, you know. You come back. We came back and we saw the needs there with our own eyes. So let's continue help. So one mission took to the other. We joined here with the Ukrainian people that lived here before the invasions. They were already living here. They have an association, and this is Associação Amizada. And I met Natalia as a Ukrainian, Natalia Khmil. She's a fighting woman, although there are many aspects that differ from objectives, political interests or whatever. And she was a pure person that inspired me also and motivated me to help her. And one hand washes the other. Together, combined, we organized and prepared with a lot of volunteers, many Ukrainians, many Portuguese. It was a wonderful time in that sense. We managed to gather 23 sendings of trucks with basic needs for what was asked for us. The dinner, the solidarity dinner, was actually a big event, a very big event,
Yeah,
very
it
important.
was a media event because a lot of people saw it.
Yes,
It was
but
a
without
precedent.
support.
You mean without support, the huge support which you anticipate?
No, I mean official support.
Official,
This
okay.
was just
Public.
a pure private
society, yeah.
initiative because of our desire not being hostage to any other interests, political or propaganda interests that are always related to these kinds of events. You know, one thing that personally me bothers, I mean, is when people say, and cities abroad and countries say, we show our solidarity to Ukraine and light up buildings, blue and yellow, and that's it. I mean, only lightning does not help. Only saying that I am your friend, that's nothing, that's just words. So putting into action is for me the most important, putting into action where the words are. You know?
You gave very good examples and good inspiration words for all Ukrainians. And my last question concerns the future. You know, I know that it's complicated now to make some forecasts about the future. It's very difficult. However, we all believe and we see the clear perspective of the victory of Ukraine, of the support by the West countries of Ukraine. So, what the future of Ukraine you see in the nearest years? How important Ukraine will be for European Union and for whole actually Western world?
One thing is for sure: if the war stops today, or in 1 year, or in 10 years, Russia will always be the neighbor. So, if we speak about in the short term, Ukraine will be a country that can give the example of the determination we were speaking about, and being a very proud country of managing to defend themselves against one of the biggest military powers in the world. Of course, without support, it would not be possible. So it's very difficult to go ahead and say what will happen. I wish for a very serene development. I wish that Ukraine learns from our mistakes, because European Union and Portugal and whatever country in the West, we are proud of our liberty, our freedom, and our values, but we did a lot of mistakes, We speak about corruption. We have corruption here too, so it's nothing special. It is special, but nothing much different than it is nowadays in Ukraine. The focus is, what do Ukrainians want? It's not what Europe wants, or Americans, or Russians. It doesn't matter. It's what Ukrainians want. This is, for me, the turning point where you can say Ukraine will be what you want to be. And we are here to support you. Whatever decision you will take for the future, I hope we all hope that it will be soon. I'm afraid it will not be that soon as we wish, but we have to work. And it's not when the war ends that we have to work. We have to work now. We have to help you now. When the war ends, it's easy. Then you have a huge queue of countries and companies and say, "No, you are okay, let's help." No, it's now. Now it's needed. So,
Thank you. Дякую. Obrigado.
Будь ласка.
Thank you for your
De nada.
interview, for your inspiration. It was very, very interesting to hear your personal position. I think we'll keep on cooperate,
Yes.
working. Thanks for your efforts, and good luck, both of us.
We need it,
Thank you.
but we have to work hard for it.
Yeah, thank you.
If it doesn't hurt, it's not helping.
Yes.
Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава.